We would like to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Sonic Electronics, so check them out for great deals on speakers, head units, amps, subs, wiring, etc. Use discount code PROVOBEAST for an instant 5% off your next purchase during checkout.
This is Chris from PROVOBEAST Audio Installation. Today we're doing a really cool install. We're working on this Mark 7 GTI. Today in this video we're going to show you how to add a 5-channel amplifier. We're going to show you how to run all the cabling and our sub itself. Now just keep in mind when we're replacing the door speakers, that's going to be a different video. Check that down in the description below. We're going to have some links for you when those videos become available. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started. We're going to show you how to run the power wire from the battery to the back of the car. We're going to show you how to run all the speaker wire. We're going to show you how to tap into the factory system for signal output and get everything tuned once we get that sub in the trunk. So like I said, as you watch this video, if you have any questions, be sure to post them down in the description, and let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so some of the parts we're going to be using today, of course, our 5-channel amplifier. We're doing this Pioneer GM D9605. So we have our amp itself. We're going to use a new Concept 4-gauge wiring kit. We're using Stinger 6-channel wiring as well for RCAs. Now, instead of running new speaker wire to each and every single door, easiest solution, you can pick up some of the Stinger wire. It's called Speedwire or 9-conductor wire, and basically has all 4 sets of your speaker wire and a remote turn-on wire, or we can use it as a ground, I guess, within a bundle that's double shielded. Pretty cool. And then finally, because Mark 6s don't have an ignition switch behind the radio itself, we picked up some added circuits. We'll show you exactly why we're going to use these. We essentially need to find an ignition source rather than tapping into a cigarette lighter. We're going to go right to the fuse box, use an added circuit, and hook everything up correctly to obtain that ignition source. So when the key is on, the amp turns on. Alright, so here we have the hood pops. Here's our battery. What we're going to do is pop this open, and essentially from our positive side on the battery terminal itself, we're going to add in our power wire running all the way to the amplifier in the trunk area of our Mark 7. We're going to add an inline fuse in this area. Now we're going to have to find some firewall access. This is the new Concepts kit that we've chosen for this install. Typically the boot area, we're going to go back behind the battery, so we may have to pull the battery for that access. What we're going to do is we're going to find that access for you, show you how to get through that boot, run this cabling from this area all the way to the trunk area. Alright, so what we've done here is actually pop down the under dash panel. This is the under dash cover there. They're Torx screws to get that on. Typically the Torx bit that we've used is a T20. Now we got a hanger here, my little handy dandy tool if you've seen my other videos. If you have a grommet tool, by all means, that's a lot easier. But essentially we're looking for firewall access. So up underneath here, we have our main wiring harness on the left hand side. Let's see if I can get a point to it for you. And then right below it, we have a grommet area. Now, you can run wire right through there, or if you have the automatic version, typically this is where the clutch access is, and you can pull that grommet out, and that goes right through. So you can choose either or to run that wiring through. Generally, this is the better one for you. Poke a little hole there at the bottom of that little tube. It seals around the wire itself. I use a hanger, and the hanger allows me to fish the wire up through so I can pull it up to the battery area. Okay, so we went ahead and did so. We moved the actual insulative cover around the battery, and you can see there's a bolt we're going to have to go ahead and remove, which removes the bracket, and the battery comes right on out. Right, so we got the battery removed, and at this point down here you can see where the wire has come through, and then right off next to it you can actually see the access for the clutch if you decided to go through there, if you do have the automatic version. So we're going to tape the wire using electrical tape to our hanger here, and we're going to pull the wire through the grommet. Alright, there we go. So we pulled the wire through that little nipple, that little grommet there. Give yourselves plenty of length. At this point, we're going to go ahead and replace the battery, put it here, put the terminals back on. Now you can still keep the negative off since we're working with electrical within the car. But essentially, we have the access we need. Now at this point, here in the car, we're going to start running this 4-gauge wiring all the way to the rear hatch. Now the way we're going to do that is these panels do pop up. We're going to use panel tools. We're going to show you how that's done. but everything's going to be hidden under these panels, and we're going to work our way to the spare tire area. Alright, so up underneath, you can work this panel, pop it loose, and what we're going to do is using the tuck method. We're going to tuck this 4-gauge. Now you can pop these up. As you can see, they're just held on with clips. Now if you don't want to pop these up, that's fine. You can actually just tuck the wire up underneath the panel itself, working its way back. So what we've done here is we finished tucking the wire up. Now, like I said, you can pop panels out, whatever seems to be the easiest. These panels are extremely tight, so take your time, don't break anything. Now at this point, we've actually removed the back seat. As you can see here, there's 2 clips in the front. You give it a good tug on both sides, and the seat just lifts on out. Now this part is held on with just a little teeny clip. Remove that clip. And popping these 2 clips out gives you plenty of space to run the wire the rest of the way up underneath the back seat to the trunk area. Okay, so we got that all put back together. We've got our wire run up and into the hatch area. We got plenty of length to really decide on how to mount the amplifier. At this time, let's go ahead and now run the ground wire. Alright, so we're working on the ground. Now these panels have a little anchor point here that actually goes into, since it's a unibody, more of the thicker part of the frame itself. And the nice thing is you can pop this ring back off around this. And what we've done is really have cleaned the paint off. And we've used a wire brush here. And what we're going to do is put our ground right on that stud. And then this will go, we can put a washer on, and then this will go back over it and essentially be tightened down with the nut that came with it. Alright, so at this point, went ahead and hooked up, put our inline fuse there, and mounted it. And then everything's to the battery. We still haven't put the negative back on, but the battery's all back in. We have our ground all good to go, nice and tight. All the paint's cleaned off. And then our positive, negative hooked up. We'll get these wires all cleaned up once we get the other wires ran. At this point, we're going to run our RCAs and our speaker wire from the amp on the other side of the car up, and we're going to work to the glove box to right about there. That's where our CD receiver is, and that's where we're going to be tapping into our signal and our ignition source. Okay, so we're here inside the passenger front seat. We got to remove this because essentially this is actually the whole radio itself. The screen here is just the display. So in order to get these out, there's these slots here in the corners, and you can pick up these Volkswagen German stereo keys just online for super cheap. I'll post in the description how to get these and where to order them. So essentially these pop into these slots, and we use these keys to unlock the hooks, and the radio slides on out. So I've popped these in. Now the straight edge is on the outside, the curved edge is on the inside, and just wiggling it loose. Come on out here. That's how they hook in, releasing this clip. Now at this point the negative is still off the battery, so let's go ahead and unhook these. There's just a little clip that pops up just like that. And then you can unhook your antennas here as well. Okay, so we unhooked everything, and now this bank here, these are all our speaker wires. So what we're going to be doing is locating which is positive and negative and which door speaker wire goes where. I'll post in the description a schematic, and I can also post up here in the video just so you have those wiring colors. But essentially what we need to do is tap into these for signal, and the signal go from this area through the RCAs to our amplifier, and then from our amplifier using speaker wire we're going to come up and tap back into this wire for the output to the speakers. And that kind of sounds confusing, but we'll show you once we get that all set up how this is all works and how to make it work clean. Alright, so we need to run our RCAs and speaker wire from this area to the rear of the car. So just like the power side, we've just kind of popped this off, and this panel pops off as well if you give it a little bit of a tug. And essentially we're going to run this wire up the A-pillar area Now this cover comes off as well, just held on with clips. You pop that off. And as you can see, looking right through there, you can see my hand. And that's from the radio cavity. So essentially, we're going to run all our wire up through into that cavity so we can tap into for signal wire. Alright, so what I've done here is run our end of speaker wire and RCAs. Pulling this back, I was able to pull this panel side and just feed the wire up and through, and it's going to go down that little hole so we get access to the actual glove box radio. And from here, just like the power side, we can either tuck it or pop panels off, but we're going to work our way all the way over to the amplifier. Now, just because this is a little bit thicker than the power wire, we actually popped this off completely. Again, just all held on with clips. Be careful of the ribbon for the LED kick panel. And then at this point, we're going to run this wire all the way through to the back side, and then work our way over to the amp. Okay, it's this point, so we're going to run these wires up and through, as you can kind of see there, and it comes out here. We're going to do our RCAs as well. But essentially, what I've done, this is the main wiring harness outside the radio, and our 4 sets of channels of speakers, speaker wires, I've cut on both ends, as you can see there. Instead of connecting there, what I've done is this end coming out as our signal source from the radio. It's going to go through these RCA inputs. Now these typically come with the Pioneers. You could also use the high level channel input. We'll show you that here in a moment. But essentially that's our signal source. And we're going to hook these up to our RCAs, which go to our amplifier. So this is signal out from the radio to our RCAs to our amplifier. Now we'll show you on the other end. All the way up from the front, like I said, we ran it all the way from the glove box area, and they plug in to our 3 sets of channels there, front, rear, and sub. If you have a 4-channel amp or a 2-channel amp, the principle would still be the same. And then we got power and ground, which you've already seen. Now here's our speaker output. Once the signal has been amplified through the amplifier, our output. This is why we've used the Speedwire, because all the wire colors are labeled. But there's our 4 pairs of speaker wire, and this heads back up to behind the radio. And let's go back up there. Comes back up from behind the amp. And what we've done here is the other end of these wires that we've cut, these go to our doors. So we don't actually have to run all new speaker wire. So the output amplified signal from the amplifier goes through there to our doors. Now if you really want to run separate wiring for each door, by all means go ahead and do so, but this is actually the benefit of Speedwire. Doing it this way saves you a lot of extra runs of wire. You don't need necessarily all that going on. So we're going to have to get everything tucked well inside the dash here, so this radio sits back up in there. We can tape things up just so they don't go anywhere. But we're done up here behind the radio module. We got to just get our RCAs plugged in and our panels all put back together. Okay, so we hooked up our RCAs, got the panel back on, got a radio pushed back there. Good to go. Now let's show you how to run the remote wire and bass knob control wire on the opposite side of the car. Alright, so here we went ahead and removed this panel. Again, these are all only held on with just clips. And this comes out too as well, a little pocket here. So the bottom just hooks on, and the tops are just held on with 2 little tabs on both sides. Just push those tabs in. Now this is called an ADA circuit. Go ahead and Google it if you don't know what these are. Essentially, this fuse that we tapped into, which I include a picture of, but it's switched, and we used a multimeter to verify that it's switched and only on when the ignition's on. And so what we've done here is just tapped into it, and then ran this wire up, down, along with our bass knob wire, which we're going to mount just right here. Don't worry about it if you don't have a bass knob. And then we've just, since the wire is tight enough, We've just tucked it up underneath this panel along with the power wire all the way to the amplifier area. Okay, we're good. So we got our wire all in, as you can see there. A little extra wire that'll just hang out underneath the seat. Here for the amp side, we got the amp all mounted. We got our wiring just kind of tucked away. We pull the linkers on it so the wires aren't going to fall. That's it, super clean. Now at this point, we're going to get the seat back in. And that's it for the install. We're going to go ahead and give you a little test. We'll head over underneath the hood and ensure that we get everything plugged in. Go ahead and get the negative back on the battery. Go ahead and make sure that's all tightened down. We got our fuse all mounted. At this point, let's let you hear what it sounds like. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are all good to go. Everything's put back together, super clean. Let's check out the trunk here. Okay, give it a little power. If you have any questions about this install, just go and post a comment below. Thanks guys for watching the channel. We certainly appreciate your support. This was a fun install for us today. Go ahead and check out the description for helpful links, parts used, and eventually we'll get our front and rear speaker install also uploaded. Again, we appreciate you watching, and we'll certainly see you in the next video.